go faster.
Yeah. Welcome to another small boat adventure. In this episode, we will take you to Colt Island. To land on this island appears the most innocent at first, but yet it is the most difficult so far for us, in fact. We're going to take you along on our little adventure, unravel a maritime mystery that we found along the way, and, as always, take you inside the manoeuvres of our little rib on this adventure, both those that went well and those that did not. It's been a very busy year for our little rib. There's a video for each of these adventures. This is Shannick Island, by far the easiest in this area to land upon. This is St. Patrick's Island, at first a treacherous island to get ashore on, but someone in history appears to have cut a pathway inwards for small boats to land. This is Jameson's Cove in Howth. We have also begun to explore the various coves in the Dublin area for landing a small boat such as ours. The presence of ruined baths beneath the water here made this one dangerous. We'll find better in future, but it is still worth a visit. For much of the year you cannot set foot on the Rockabill light. At the time of filming, it was prohibited. This is because of a highly successful breeding program for terns. In this episode, we visit the island in order to see the puffins and other bird life. But this trip is in June. We had to wait until late summer to land here. On that later trip, we launched early and got out for the sunrise. But that trip comes in a later video. In the year we have owned it, we have kept our little rib running in every season. This trip was a beautiful but chilly January dawn. We've also begun to explore the inland waterways in Ireland. More episodes to come there too. The weather is getting a little harder at the time of editing, but we recently got out to the Kish Light and tried the rib out in rougher seas on the way home. But those adventures are still to come. So back to this episode. Yeah, that's the normal size of puffins. Colt Island is one of two Colt Islands in Ireland. The other is in County Galway. This one is the last of the trio of low-lying islands of Skerries, which we have explored so far. Skerries takes its name from the Viking word for rough coast, and it sure is rough here. It is encircled almost entirely by boulders and reefs. There is just one spit of sand reaching out to the west, which I chose to anchor near and drift down upon in order to get ashore. To clear the rocks further east of the spit, I could only do this at low tide. The rocks in this place are literally everywhere. Nonetheless, we did get ashore, fry a few sausages and discover an island mystery, a mystery that triggered a trail of stories and newspaper articles alluding to buried, shipwrecked sailors. But this was a mystery whose history I did ultimately manage to resolve. Due to the plan for getting ashore on Colt Island, we launched at the ebb tide. Not every manoeuvre went well today, and I will cover that later, but this one was poetry in motion. Easy as you like. At this height of the tide, she slipped off the bunks far easier than she would be dragged back onto them later on that day. I slipped my bowline onto the guide pole, and the outgoing current and westerly breeze brought us nicely downstream to the right here. The trailer then gently pulled us up the sandy beach, clear of the concrete slipway. While I towed away the trailer, the tide of course continued to drop. One of the things I love about this light aluminium hull is the way I can just haul it about single-handedly, just as long as some part of it is afloat. I'm going to spend a fair portion of this day doing family piggybacks in and out of the tide. It's Father's Day today and it's going to be a good one. There is of course no one else I'd rather upon my back on this day, and this is the land that goes with the title. One of these days I will of course stumble and a two-person splash would follow. When it happens, I just hope I get it on video.
Are you sure the engines won't stop working, Dad?
No. That won't happen. For a June day, it was not particularly warm with a northerly breeze, but with a few clouds coming and going and only neat tides running, the day had potential and we would use it. The girls in the family have been less keen to take the wheel, and I was determined to set that right today.
Alright, it's starting to get deep. I think you can speed up.
Really? How do I speed up?
So you can go over that sort of direction there slowly, a slow left turn.
Are we going out to the ocean?
Yeah. What's wrong? We're going out to an island.
Oh no, what if we get lost?
Oh no, we won't get lost, sweetie.
Or what if...
It's all on the map here, yeah?
And what if the engine stops?
Well, we've got paddles, and I've got a second tank of fuel, which is why I was able to fix it last time, and that's the way I'll fix it this time.
Do I make it go forward again?
Okay, just with your hand here, just push it gently forward, okay?
Dublin Coast Guard Radio, WIOD, ops normal, WI Harbour, over.
Can you go faster? That's it, keep going a bit more.
Dublin Coast Guard Radio.
Get it up on top of the water, yeah?
Huh?
A little bit more. That's it.
Yay!
Now, you're steering. Keep your hand on the throttle in case you want to pull it back, yeah? In case you don't like what happens.
Can we go faster?
Yeah? This seems comfy, everybody's dry. This is good. Are a bit bigger there.
In amongst the intelligent sense of caution that I detect in my daughter, I wanted her to also know the adrenaline and fun of controlling a boat such as this, so that one would not outweigh the other. I set out to teach her this today, but you know, teaching is funny. You rarely teach someone anything without learning something yourself too. With my own draw for speed, I find myself sometimes critical of this hull in a chop, but yet what my student here teaches her own teacher is that this little boat cruises really quite well if kept just a little bit slower.
Oh my goodness.
There's one flying over.
Now, if you're not Irish, you might not understand, but puffins are almost as much a symbol of Ireland as shamrocks, harps or Guinness to people of my generation. That's because there was at one time a Guinness ad featuring the puffin. And so, in some ways, we saw them everywhere. And yet, in reality, most of us saw them nowhere. They were everywhere on pub signs across the country, but yet the bird itself is very rare to see, except offshore, as we now are.
Yeah, that's the normal size of puffins.
I think they come to Ireland.
As I mentioned, you cannot land on Rockabill Light at this time of year. It is guarded by wardens and a protected breeding site for terns. What we learned today is that you would not want to land here at this time of year anyway. Even if you could, the terns would see to that.
Well, that's one pier, but I've never been into that one.
Although hard to see in my wide-angle footage, the puffins were just beautiful to see in all their bright colour, but the swarming birds around the other side of the island were quite impressive in their own right too, very defensive of their nests. While the rest of my crew were caught up in this peaceful moment, I find myself drifting starkly back to this photo, which I happened to be in a position to take on December 5th, 2021, during Storm Barra. It is a stark reminder of exactly what these structures must endure, and also a reminder of exactly how fragile and fleeting our ability to visit here really is.
Would you not, can you not go left here? Is it too shallow?
See the rope off the buoy? That's what we have to be careful of. Do you see it? Get that around the propeller and then we'd be embarrassed. You see, if you look on the chart, look, it's very shallow in there. So we might as well give it a wide berth here. And you can see the waves as well. They don't look settled there, do they?
Where's the island we're meant to go to anyway?
It's back over that way.
There are two wardens up there on the island, one this side of the lighthouse and the other to the right of it as we see here. They are completing their tasks among the birds as we watch. The attacks they are enduring are constant.
Oh, that's good purpose there.
Keep people off it.
Is that why there's a door?
That must be why he has those little cabins around it.
He must be moving through those bushes there if the birds are moving.
Yeah, it's like they're attacking him there, isn't it? He's checking the nest.
You wouldn't want to be bothered by that, would you? And is that a helicopter landing pad up there?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, there's two people up there,
Two
Tom.
people up there, Sweetie. That's why the birds are getting all edgy. Oh God, he's got a bird landed on his head. Oh, they seem to have calmed down around him. I wonder, are they little nesting holes they have for them?
Oh, is that the island they're going to next?
We're going on to this island here. No, we've never been to this one before. Well, you see that little piece of beach there with the cormorants on it?
Why have you turned off the engine?
Just because I'm looking and watching and learning and figuring things out.
I am approaching Colt Island here from the north. The rib is facing south now. My plan as we approach Colt Island is to drop the bow anchor to the north of the sandy spit which extends to the west of the island, or my right as you see it here. I will then let the north wind and the southerly ebb tide bring us down to the beach, meaning I can shut down the engine and protect the prop as we do so. Then I will secure a cage anchor onto the beach, and this arrangement overall should protect the boat's hull from pounding on the rocky shore. In future, I would do this from a little further west or to the right here. The boulders that sit beneath the waves here are many, and of course I have a lee shore with a strong onshore drift, making a sharp lookout on the echo sounder and into the water essential.
I don't like the look of the rocks there.
We can try the other island, Robin. We haven't been on the other
Yeah,
island.
but this is our only chance to get onto this one now. So,
Dublin Coast Guard Radio, this is Gary's Life.
I think it'll work. I just got to be careful.
3 nautical miles.
So far, everything is going to plan. The anchor cable pays nicely out along the seabed and she drifts nicely to the shallows, so I can step ashore with the cage anchor.
Bye-bye, Dad.
I always love this little walk up the beach for the first time. It doesn't matter where. I've done this a few times, even in some far-flung crazy places, Antarctica, America or elsewhere. It doesn't matter where, new ground is the same old thrill that I used to imagine as a child reading of treasure maps and bold pirates. Except now I know the treasure is not the gold. It's the place and the people in the story. All that glitters is not gold this Father's Day.
Don't get me wet. It's so nice and
Yeah. Go for a run, Tommy.
Dad, I found something that says me on it.
Coming ashore.
It's so warm here.
Oh, come on. You'll find a shelter patch up there on the island. Hold your feet up high.
Look at that, not a scratch on my propeller. Though I think next time a wind from a little further west and to also take to this spit of sand from a little further west might be a better day to look at Colt Island. The direction I am anchored is very shallow and the tide here is still falling. Still, I better get the lunch on.
Tom, you're the master of fire, aren't you, when we go camping?
I'll hold this.
What's that? You talk about the fish. Oh, cook them also.
Dad will have a lot of oh, that's all.
You get the idea here what an absolute boulder field this island is, and while we were getting things started for lunch, I was beginning to plot a plan to reposition the rib into deeper water. In this, my first year exploring Dublin's island shorelines, it has been very positive to see how little litter there is here. We're right next to the town of Skerries, yet there is no trace of any plastic on this beach.
I said they look good.
A lovely little south-facing sunny spot we had found for ourselves here, just out of that cool northerly breeze.
So, your 4 name options. You just saw them in a really. Dad, do you want to start getting out some plates?
We don't have plates, we just have forks, so each person can eat with a fork. Make sure they couldn't cook there, Tommy.
Initially, I thought I would get away with just letting out the stern anchor and hauling in on the bow anchor, but the area was getting too shallow as I bobbed here above the boulders. I checked the tide and there was still 20 or 30 centimetres more to ebb and not much left on my anchor cable as I hauled it in. So I just didn't have that much water here. In the end, I decided to let the stern anchor go, haul out on the bow anchor nice and quick against the wind to get the depth necessary to start the motor and reposition. There wasn't much room for error in this, as she would drop back on shore very quickly with both wind and tide, so I pulled as fast as I could to get an offshore drift. Not quite that fast, but as fast as I could. I just let the boat's own drift drag the anchor cable out itself, and that keeps it slow and draws out the line nice and straight so that I know it will hold when I want it to. In softer sand I buried this grappling hook anchor, but in this more gravelly coral sand it seems to hold pretty well just hammered in with a rock to weight it down, so I retired to my sunny spot on the sand while the oyster catchers sent out squadrons of anti-drone patrols in defence of their beautiful offshore home.
What is that?
Look at those things.
Like something off a fish or something.
It's plastic though.
I don't think it is though, is it?
Let's feel it.
Doesn't really feel like plastic.
It's like styrofoam maybe.
No, look, it's got... That's some part of a fish's...
It doesn't look like a fish when you look at it. It feels like styrofoam.
No, but look at the layers in it, look. That's like this that you'd find in the body of a fish or something. Whale bone, maybe. Thanks for coming along today, Tom.
We stumbled across what appears to be the only evidence of man upon this island. This strange little enclosure of decorative cast iron railings was a mystery to me. I went home after this and began researching the island's history for clues. The Irish Examiner has an online article which speculates on the possibility of this being the unmarked grave of lost mariners. However, the mystery was solved when I posted the question on the Rush Sailing Club Facebook page, and one contributor was able to clarify that the railings originated in his grandfather's garden and were simply placed there to pen sheep. Nice to know the simple truth. We left a little sooner than the tide alone would have suggested. It meant we would be a little short of water at the boat recovery point, but in family trips you gotta know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And it was time. I let the boat drift in a little to keep the water shallow for the piggyback boarding process. With the anchor repositioned now well offshore, this time I had the luxury of starting the engine first, which removed some of the urgency around getting into deeper water once the anchor was away. But as you will see, we were not out of the woods yet.
What about this anchor?
Yeah, the engine starts first and then we do that. You can
see here that as soon as the anchor is away, the bow falls off the wind. Time is of the essence. I do carry a spare propeller on board. Around here, I was glad to know it was there.
Oh, look at these rocks. Well, that rock was just coming down the side there. That was nasty. Well, it's out here, look. It's just, see these rocks here, can you see them? Yeah, it's north of. So now we're going to go down past this island and just stay offshore of that. So pick a heading there. It's easier to steer if you just look at something in the distance and then just go for it. So we'll get it up in the plane now. Do you want to add some more power? And then I'm going to start tilting the engine off. Feel that? Yeah, so do you feel that? So I didn't change the revs, I reduced the resistance.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Buying a boat is not just a gift to yourself, but also a gift to those around you. Each time I bring someone to the controls, there is an all but inevitable transition from caution to glee. It's priceless, every time.
That's too high, you hear the engine? Sounds a bit funny. Gonna go real fast?
No.
I'll go on, get the feel of it. Go up to 45, see what you think. And just get ready to be more proactive with the steering. If it digs in, like, you might have to correct.
This boat handles better at speed with passengers sat down aft, but in anything close to fair weather, people want to be up at the bow. So there is a slight trade-off between trim, handling and fun here.
Go up to 5,000. It sounds happy. If you don't like it, slow it, you know.
I spent 10 years at sea, but now I am about to be outmaneuvered by a 10-year-old boy. I maintain that any activity that feeds you a regular slice of humble pie is good for you. And here comes my slice. The target is to beach the boat on the sand near the slipway, but without hitting the concrete and without a scratch on my prop or sand sucked into my impeller. The tide is from my right, the wind is from my left, but what I don't know yet is that the rising breeze is also enjoying a free run down the slipway. I still tend to drive small boats like big ships, and it shows here. A little too much caution. It was going to be too deep, so, as always, you gotta know when to hold them and know when to fold them. I went around again. It is going well here so far. With higher speed, the workload is high, getting the engine out of the way and shut down. but I hadn't briefed my crew at all, so without knowing why, I noticed a boat falling off the wind, which I know now to be channeling down the slipway. This is due to the starboard side paddle work pushing us to port. Thankfully, a few quick pulls of the paddle across the bow brought us ashore. So here it comes. Watch the left of screen if you want to know how it should be done. Nicely done, skipper. Humble pie. Well, this is one of the last times you will see my trailer with bunks, and you're about to see why. The tide is low. I have to reverse off the side of the slipway edge due to the drop at its end, but I haven't enough water to float the boat onto the trailer. The bunks are not necessarily the wrong idea, particularly in inland waterways where tide and corrosion are not an issue. But here the value of being able to launch and recover at very low water is threefold. First, more time in the day available to be in the water. Secondly, able to launch at quieter times on the slipway. And finally, less gear submerged in the ever corrosive salt water. The focus on efficiency at the boat ramp cannot be overemphasized. You can get great distance out of little people on the move, but in boredom, while Dad tinkers with trailers, the patience of little people begins to evaporate quickly. Young Tom demonstrates my point. After winching and dragging my protesting paint up across the bunks, I went straight home and ordered rollers. Still, as Father's days go, I was already on a roll.